Hi everyone, just gonna take these off. I don't need them. How are you all doing? Sorry I'm a few minutes late. I had to get everyone down for their nap and settled so that nobody would bug me because I'm in my kitchen instead of hiding in my room because I'm in the middle of actually redoing my room right now and it's a crazy mess. So, give everyone a second. Just gonna share this real quick. I know it's Monday, so a lot of people won't be here. Let me know if you're here live. Leave a comment. I love to know when you're here. Facebook doesn't actually always tell me that people are here, so make sure that you're commenting that you are watching. Share this out if you want to, if you can, and also make sure to let me know if you're watching the replay too. So this has a very intriguing title, doesn't it? I had a realization this weekend kind of about what I've been talking about and how it's really a mesh of a lot of things that I haven't ever been able to articulate all at once. And honestly, if I were to try to put it into a Facebook post, it'd be like 15 pages and no one would read it. So I figured the easiest way to do it was to get onto a live and talk about it here. So let's just give me 1 second and I'm going to post this here. And again, let me know if you're watching because it's a lot easier for me to talk to someone if I know that there's someone here to talk to. Oh, I don't want to share it there. One more place to share it just so that the interwebs have it. And there's multiple places I can try to find it again because sometimes Facebook eats my lives and it's really weird. Okay, so why I teach my kids about their penis and pussy and don't call it something different. It's a pretty intense subject. I know it sounds awkward, especially when you know how old my kids are, right? So I have a 10-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 1-year-old. And right now, the 3-year-old is the most interested in body parts, and my 10-year-old doesn't really care so much as of right now. But I realized that he's going to be going into that stage of life soon where he is going to be wondering about those parts. So whenever my 3-year-old asks, I'm just not shy about it. So I don't know, probably about a month or so ago, 2 months ago was when he really was all like, "Mommy, you don't have a penis," because he knows what his penis is, and we never really have a problem telling a little boy what their part is. Maybe more people will say that's your winky or whatever, but I feel like most of my friends just tell their little boys that that's your penis, and we're not really ashamed of saying the word penis because that's what it is. That's what it's called, okay? When it comes to female genitalia, the proper term that you use is pussy. And let me explain why. You have, in almost all textbooks, it just says feminine genitalia, female genitals. It doesn't say pussy and all those other things like that. It just says female genitals, okay? So when it's really interesting to me that we're okay, so male genitals, we just shortened that and turned it into penis, even though there's scrotum and they're all a part of the penis, right? But what about a female genitals? You have the inner parts and you have the outer parts. There are a lot of pieces to the female reproductive system. It's really big. And then you have then you just have the clit on its own, which is the only organ in either females or males that are made just for self-pleasure, or for pleasure. There's 8,000 nerve endings in your clit, and there's only 4,000 in the entire penis. So that's a whole nother life. But I read this book called Pussy: A Reclamation. I'm sure you guys have heard me talk about it before, and she really just explains that pussy is the term that incorporates all of it. Because when you say vagina, that would be describing the whole penis as just the scrotum. Or just the shaft. Because the vagina literally translates into oh my gosh, what's the name of it? Sheath. A sheath for a sword. Okay, so the vagina is literally just the little tube that connects the outer genitalia to the inner genitalia, but it's not the whole pussy. So teaching your daughter that it's her vagina is like teaching your son that his penis is really called the shaft, and that's it. It's not describing the whole organ. So then you're like, well, what about the other names? You've got like little lady parts, your purse, you've got all these other names, but more than 70% of women just weren't told anything about it. They knew that boys had something because you could see it, and they just thought they had, like, I thought that I just had nothing down there. I was never, like, told a term for it, like, nothing. I don't remember. If I ever was, I don't remember being told a term for it ever. I don't remember learning about anything about my pussy or vagina or anything like that until I was in 5th grade and took maturation class for the first time. And then I had another one. I don't even remember. But let's see. There's a comment that I can't read on my tiny phone. So let me pull it up. I'm going to pull up the live here so I can read the comments easier. Because I'm really trying to, like, train my eyes. Okay, comment. The whole thing is called a vulva, but pussy is funnier to say. But it's not. So, okay, so vulva still only really talks about the outer part. It's not talking about the inner part. And when you say vulva, doesn't it, like, just remind you of a Volvo? That's what I just think about, like, a really boring fucking car. And why can't we, like, break the stigma on the word pussy? Because right now we think about the word pussy and we're like, oh, you're such a pussy, man. Like, it's a really negative thing to be called a pussy. But when you think about what a pussy is, it's like that Betty White quote. Like, I don't know why everyone tells you to get some balls. It's the vagina that can really take a pounding or whatever. Like, it's the same thing. Women have a lot of power, and using the word pussy helps. Again, it's called Pussy: A Reclamation by Regina Thomas-Schauer. Like, that's the name of the book that I'm referring to. And she just really pushes home that, like, we as women need to reclaim that word, because there's tons of history, like tons of myths, tons of everything that talk about how pussy used to, like, save villages and saved the earth multiple times in different mythologies. And, like, women used to flash their pussy to the sea when their fishermen would go out to make sure that there were fish. Like, there are all these crazy stories that, like, have essentially been taken out of any textbook. Like, we don't teach our women this, especially in, like, America and the Western world. These are things that you go into less civilized societies, and they're talking about this. So this is, again, why do I talk, like, the name of this live, why do I teach my kids this? Because America and the first world countries, we are fucked up when it comes to talking about this. Like, it is so ridiculous. And then we wonder why we have the rape culture that exists today. And you wonder why there's all these, like, horrible news stories all the time. And there's all, like, if we taught, like, just bear with me for 1 second. If we taught our kids about their bodies when they were 3, 4, 10, we did. We didn't, like, hope that fucking health class does, or hope that maybe one of their friends tells them, or whatever. Like, we take responsibility that we had sex to make these children. Why don't we just talk to our kids about their own sex organs? Like, ridiculous. But if we talked to them and taught them about their bodies, about their feelings, about how every part of their body worked, not just their sex organs, but how does your brain actually work? What does a muscle actually do? And you don't have to be an anatomist to do this, but when you connect their brain to their body, or, like, behind me, you see this chart. We talk about it's backwards for you, I know. It says my moods, and it talks about my feelings. And then we, like, feel it in our bodies. So if my son starts getting really upset, I'll be like, how does your heart feel? And he goes like this. He says, oh, it's pounding really, really fast, Mom. And I'm like, okay, what does that mean, buddy? And we're able to talk about it. And so I'm not freaking out at him that he's freaking out and then causing, like, more cortisol to pump through both of our systems and all this other stuff, which causes high stress and anxiety and depression and all these other things that we're doing to our kids when we're fucking screaming at them because they're not good enough when they're 3. Instead, I get low, I hug him, and I try to get him. My 3-year-old doesn't do it as well, but he's learning. And my 10-year-old doesn't do it so well because we've only been implementing this for, like, 6 or 7 months, but it's getting there. It's starting to really hit home that he has these feelings and they're not just like out here. They occur inside of his body. And what are other parts of his body? So when my 3-year-old asks mommy, why don't you have a penis? And I say, I have a pussy and sister has a pussy. It's like, it's going to mean that when my 3-year-old comes to the age of my 10, soon to be 11-year-old, whatever, that this is not like an odd conversation. It's not awkward at all. It's just like, it's just facts. And if we all of a sudden made sex not taboo, then we could just take away so much. Like look at cannabis, okay? Let's look at the reefer madness. This is my favorite segue example because y'all know, if you go back for the last 9 years on Facebook, that I've been on Facebook, 10 years, whatever the fuck, I've been talking about cannabis the whole time. Because I started using cannabis the first time when I was pregnant with my first kid because I lost 25 pounds because I was puking my guts out. So I was like one of those people back in 2008 that was all like, by 2020, cannabis is going to be legal in the whole country. It's just not possible for it not to be. Look at all this information. Look at the internet. Like, there's no way you're going to be able to continue the lies and hiding about what cannabis does. And surprise, now you say the word cannabis, like everyone's coming out of the cannabis closet. Your mom probably drives to the closest state to go get her recreational. Like, nobody fucking cares about weed anymore. Same thing, at least in our generation, right? I'm talking about people that are probably like under 50. And those are the people that are having kids, and that's why I'm mostly talking to them. But like, if you're an older person that agrees with me, like has grandkids, obviously, but the people that are voting against cannabis legislations are people that like were fighting in Nam and just totally anti-hippie and just in their brains have wired together cannabis and hippie and will never be able to let go of it. I digress. See, I got my voice back, guys. I haven't been live all weekend because my voice was like gone. It did not exist until this morning. So then another thing besides cannabis is the LGBTQ community, okay? My son knows that his uncle is gay and has boyfriends. Whenever we're he's 10, right? So I like to joke with him like, ooh, do you have a little girlfriend or a little boyfriend? Like, it's literally so just normal in my house. And I know that a lot of my friends agree with me that like the gay thing literally doesn't bother us. We don't have any problem with anyone who's gay. When I say the gay thing, that's really like rude. But like someone who, so I'm really sorry, that was super insensitive. You know what I mean though, like the gay thing. Because it's who cares? I don't care if you're gay. My hairdresser is going in through transition. So when I started getting my hair cut, Kip was cutting my hair, and now Daphne cuts my hair. And my son, my 10-year-old, has been around for all of that. And he sometimes messes up and is all like, Kip, blah, blah, I mean Daphne, and like corrects himself because he can see it's not a big deal to him. Like, it literally doesn't matter. So you have that with cannabis. You have that with gay and lesbian. Like, when you were a little kid, like, I'm a little different. I was raised in a church where we had a transgender minister. I was exposed to this really young, but still a lot of my other friends, even those who are like LDS and really conservative, have a cousin who's gay, a brother who's gay, like a sister who's a lesbian, an aunt who had a friend and now is finally coming out that it's her wife. Like, this is really, really normal for those of us born in the 80s, right? In the 70s. So then you go to now, and you have this crazy amount of violence happening, and you have this crazy amount of rape culture happening, and you have all these feelings that no one knows what the fuck to do with, and we're all just desensitizing ourselves with screens and all this other stuff. I know the irony of me ever telling you guys about technology when I'm on Facebook, but let's face it, Facebook has 1 billion people. If every one of the 8 people that just popped on to watch this shared this video, it could go to a lot of places. That's why I like to share my message here, because this is a message that I think can change the world. And that's why I come onto this platform to talk to you about it. Because it really is invaluable information when you start to see those pieces. When you don't just think about sex. When you don't just think about like, ooh, it was really weird when my parents tried to have the birds and the bees conversation with me. That's why I'm talking to my 3-year-old about it and why my 10-year-old hears about it. Again, I'm an anatomist. It's really like not a big deal. Walking around naked at my house is not like, we don't just streak. But if my kid walks in and I'm getting out of the shower, it's not like a huge deal. My body's my body. Like, I gave birth to 2 of my children in my basement. It's not like, that's the thing. Like, a body is a body, and you might have, you know, your conservative ideals of how much you want to be showing in your own, but kids aren't born with that. And that's something I really want to drive home. None of us were born ashamed of our bodies. None of us were born thinking, ooh, I need to cover up. We come out fucking naked. And our parents wrap us in pretty much a diaper for the first while because blowouts are a bitch. And especially if you were born, like Zena was born and my air conditioner broke like 3 days later. She was literally living in a diaper for like 2 weeks before my air conditioner was fixed. So when we realize that it's society that creates these perceptions of gender and more at like conservative, how much skin do you show or how much do you talk about, you realize that when you create such an intense secrecy around a subject, create it and make it a taboo, like sex and pleasure and desire and all these things, masturbation, have turned into this taboo subject, you now have what is called the forbidden fruit syndrome. This is a psychological syndrome where the curiosity is so overpowering that someone who normally wouldn't engage in this activity does. Okay, so kids are having sex younger. Kids are not telling their parents when they're having sex. We have more underage pregnancies, like teenage pregnancies, than we've ever had. All of this is because they're having sex in like secrecy, and they don't know what they're doing, and they don't know their parts because they've only learned kind of a little bit in like 5th grade, 6th grade, and maybe a little bit here. Maybe their older sister talked to them, but like no one's just coming out and being like, this is your penis. This is what it does. This is why it does it. Here's the biology. Like, why is it so awkward? That's what I would like anyone who's still watching, and if you're watching the replay, why is it awkward to talk to our kids about sex? Like, why is this conversation? Because I don't get it. I'm an anatomist, so like, it's really, as a massage therapist, the body fascinates me. I've seen cadavers. Like, I don't understand, and I want to understand so that I can help more of my clients who are all parents be able to talk to their kids. So if you are a parent and you've tried to have the talk with your kid, what makes it awkward? Like, what's the awkwardness? So you can answer me later or PM me. But what I really want to drive home here, guys, is that we've already seen in our time that we can transform the rhetoric of our culture just by talking, okay? Cannabis. We talk about cannabis. My kids know that it's a medicine. They know that until November, we just voted on it in Utah. We actually have a meeting that we're going to here because the legislature's trying to mess with it. Like, my kids know this because we're honest and open. When, the whole talking about gays, lesbians, bisexual, transgender, that whole community, the LGBTQ community, that's, again, just something that we talk about. It's just a conversation that we have that is not because it's part of society now. You see 2 boys kissing on TV all the time. How many of you were shocked the first time you saw, like, on a sitcom that they had a gay male couple kissing? Because when I first saw that, I was all like, holy shit, we are not in the 90s anymore. Not because I was, like, offended. I don't get offended, but because I remember Will and Grace, and they could never kiss. They never kissed. You just like talked about the fact that Will and Jack were gay, but you never saw anything more than a hug ever in the fucking 90s. So for us to now have like sitcoms that like the main characters are gay is huge for society standards. Same thing with smoking pot. You had that whole like Kathy Bates series on Netflix, Disjointed. You got people smoking weed all the time in these sitcoms. You've got Bon Appetit and all these things on Viceland talking about it, like cannabis just doesn't matter anymore. So why can't we do that with our bodies? Why does sex have to be behind closed doors? Why do our bodies have to be so like closed off? Because we all have them. Wouldn't it have been nice if someone taught you how to use your body? Like, I have a body and you have a body. Do you want to know how to use it? I know how to use mine. You know how to use yours. And I'm not even talking sexually. Again, guys, the way we save our kids is not the sex ed talk. If all you're getting out of this is sex ed, then you're missing the point. So I'm going to make sure, because I'm getting this like really strong feeling that maybe some people are missing the point. The point is that when you teach your kids about their bodies and about their feelings and how their feelings are in their bodies, you get to save them from their early 20s. So I want you to think back to like right after high school, your first year in college, and you've got this body and you're all alone and your family's not around and you've got new friends and you're trying new things. All of a sudden you're trying to figure out how to use this body and what are these feelings and what is love and what is lust and what is hormones and what is this and what is this drug and what is like all the things that we put into our bodies would even be part of this conversation. So yeah, it starts with talking about your pussy and your penis, but then you have to move on and think, okay, maybe I should talk to my kids about drugs in a not so like drugs are bad, okay, sort of way, or these are your brains on drugs. That's not an effective way. You can sit there. Our kids are smart, guys, like really fucking smart. They're gonna understand if you're like, if you do heroin, this will happen. And explaining it to you. You don't have to fucking scare them. But again, they're really, really smart. And of course, this is like age appropriate. So I'm not going to be talking to my 3-year-old about heroin. But because I talked to him about his penis and about his sister's pussy, it makes it easier along the line as he wants to ask more questions about his body and things that go into his body and things he needs to do to keep his body healthy. We've already made a baseline that anything about your body is open, like we can talk about it. And anything about your feelings is open and we can talk about it because we've set the baseline as young kids. You're having this big feeling. Let's figure out where you can feel it. Your heart's pounding, you're breathing heavy. Oh, your eyes are, I'm leaking. We just watched How the Grinch Stole Christmas yesterday. You're crying, just all these things. How does that feel in your body so that they can start associating their feelings inside their body, and then the teenage hormones come around and they've already set, like, they know their internal compass because we helped them find it when they were not being overrun by hormones. And then we get to talk about what hormones are. My darling 10-year-old already kind of understands that mommy's on a 1-month cycle, and about once a month I get kind of irritated and ornery, and you should probably just like either let me sleep or bring me some vegan chocolate or just like leave me alone. Like, he doesn't need to know all the nitty gritty about my period and how my period works. Maybe one day he wants to know, but right now he doesn't need to know. All he needs to know is that my hormones, which are a part of my body, which are a part of my system, are causing me to feel depleted and sad and low energy and a little irritated and aggravated. So let's go ahead and just like leave me alone. Okay, again, like, how much easier is it for a mom to be able to tell her kids, you know, this is what's going on in my body in whatever age appropriate level it is, and then that way they like, oh, mommy's not just being a crazy bitch. Like, they sort of start understanding, ooh, yeah, you know what, my mom too. Or they start talking to their friends, ooh, your mommy gets angry once a month too, my mommy gets angry too, or my mommy gets really sad, or my mommy eats a whole lot of chocolate, or whatever it is. And then their feelings, again, like they're getting super angry at school, or they're, ooh, are you telling a secret, are you telling a lie right now, are you, you know, and trying to like, how do you feel, how does that feel? And like, you know, my 3-year-old might laugh and giggle a little bit, but my 10-year-old's like, not good. It actually doesn't, now that I'm taking a second to like feel it in my body, lying to you doesn't feel good. How many of your 10-year-olds say that to you? He didn't used to, he doesn't always, but he, like, it's starting to come through. Like, we're slowly starting to pull these pieces in because every day he knows the conversation about his body is open. He knows that no matter what question he has about his body or his feeling or his thoughts, that he's not going to get shut down. And he's not going to be told that he's wrong either. If he came into me and was all like, hey, mommy, the way that my penis works is that it's filled up with a bunch of bubble gum, I wouldn't sit there and laugh at him. I mean, it might be a little funny, but I wouldn't be like, no, you're fucking stupid. Actually, it's just an organ that's filled with blood and blah, blah, blah. Like, okay, so teach him to just shut down and that you're going to always laugh at him and tell him that he's dumb. Or, oh, buddy, we don't need to talk about that right now. That's a good one. Like, Mom, why did I wake up and my penis is hard? Because that happens for when they're really, really young. Like, for those of you who don't have children who may have decided to watch this for whatever reason, like, because it is. What are you doing? Oh, marking off his stuff. Thank you. Go finish your chess workbook, please. See? And look. I'm in the kitchen having this conversation with you. I could have gone into my room and hidden and pushed a bunch of stuff on the side, but it's not a big deal. It doesn't, like, him hearing these words doesn't matter. We create the matter. We create this density and negativity and taboo around all these subjects, and then wonder why our kids are going off and murdering each other and raping each other and bullying each other and killing themselves. Like, it's really not that hard, guys. And I know that sounds so depressing, but it's true. We have the highest rate of suicides, the highest rate of teen pregnancies, the highest rate of obesity, and the highest rate of addiction in children than ever before. In children. Like, so not us. We don't count anymore. Children under 18 years old. More depressed, more anxious, more medicated, more obese, more addicted, more teen pregnancies, so more little kids that don't know how to take care of themselves, more suicides, more runaways than ever before. Because we think in the age of the internet, our kids can just figure it out. Or we think in the age of the internet, their friends have already told them. Or we think that we're having a connected conversation with our children when we're spending the whole time on Facebook. Because I'm going to be on here for the next 3 minutes answering questions, and then I'm closing it and probably won't open it again until bedtime because my husband's out of town and I've got a bunch of stuff to do today. So now I'm going to open it up. If anyone has any questions, make sure you're sharing this out. If you have gotten any value from this live, from those of you that are still watching, I really would appreciate that. And if you got any insight from it, just send, comment. Send me a message. I'll give you guys a second because I know it takes a second for it to sometimes pop up. If you guys have any questions about any of this. Also, I guess in the meantime, for those of you who might want to be like, Karen, I don't, this sounds great, but I have no idea how to do this. I do have one-on-one coaching open right now. I have room for a few clients to start right now. My calendar is opening up in January too. And also in January, I'm going to be launching the Pleasurable Parenting Academy. It's just, this needs to be going to more people. So we're going to go through and talk about the no drama discipline, neuroscience, pleasurable parenting, how to have uncomfortable conversations with your kids, how to not yell at your kids anymore, how to love being a parent, and how to teach your kids to be the type of people that you want to be, that you want them to be, so that the world doesn't end up continuing to be totally fucked up. When you look at our kids, they're the ones that are doing science fair projects and being able to save the ocean. They're the ones that are figuring out all sorts of things that we aren't figuring out. But how many of our children are not having that opportunity because we are too uncomfortable with having some of these conversations that are super important for them to have, or because we ourselves are not a good example of how to be positive, how to live a turned on life, how to find a purpose. There's a lot that's going to be in that. So if you're interested in the Pleasurable Parenting Academy, that's going to be opening January 11th. I'm still working on the sales page for that, so that will keep an eye out for that. That's the first time I've mentioned that, so you heard it here first. Okay, doesn't look like there's any questions, so thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you got some insight, and I'll talk to you soon. Love you. Bye. Bye.